A thread by Carlos Osuita. Did I call it or what? Minneapolis neighborhoods are forming militias. From Breitbart.com, John Nolte. Crime explosion forces Minneapolis residents to form militias. John Nolte gives us a lecture on how this shouldn't be happening. It's like saying urban terrorism shouldn't be happening. But this is the really funny part. Quote, this is all bad, very bad. Untrained citizens with firearms patrolling the streets is a terrible idea. The potential for civil rights violations, for someone getting hurt or worse, needs not be pointed out. Cut to a YouTube video with a recording of hysterical laughter. That kind of thinking is what brought us to this debacle. Worrying about violating the civil rights of merciless criminals. Here's what'll happen. Minneapolis will crack down on the militias. Guaranteed. Everything is stacked in favor of perpetrators. When people have no choice, how is it constructive for others to chide them? This is the law of the jungle. Yes, people elected sheriffs in the Old West, but they also strung up criminals themselves. Ever heard of Ken McElroy? He terrorized Skidmore, Missouri for 31 years from the age of 15. Assault, child molestation, statutory rape, arson, hog and cattle rustling, burglary, strong-arm robbery, attempted murder. He was put on trial 21 times, but was found not guilty every time except for an attempted murder. After he appealed his conviction, he was released on bond and spent a year harassing the victim, a 70-year-old grocer, and anyone who expressed support for him. On July 9th, 1981, McElroy went into the local bar with a Garand M1 sporting a fixed bayonet. He threatened to murder the grocer and his supporters, who included a minister. McElroy also threatened to murder their families. The next day, on July 10th, 1981, two snipers shot McElroy to death as he sat in his pickup. There were 46 witnesses. None of them saw a thing, and the case was immediately closed. I have no opinion about the killing of Ken McElroy. As far as I'm concerned, it's an act that lacks moral content. It's neither good nor bad, just inevitable. I'm indifferent to the civil rights of criminals running rampant in Minneapolis. My only concern is that the militias be smart. Take that as you will. Of course, all of this is bad. Does that even need to be said? But bleating about it is a waste of time. We need to talk about the philosophy of the response. If the militias start doing what Iraq death squads did and engage in tit-for-tat murders of people who had nothing to do with anything, that's wrong. If the militias leave their neighborhoods and go hunting, that's wrong. If the militias stay in their own neighborhoods and protect themselves from assault, robberies, burglaries, home invasions, rape, and murder, it is neither right nor wrong. The government no longer exists. The law of the jungle means make up your own laws. This was imposed on them. Therefore, nobody has any right to critique their actions as long as they're done in self-defense. If you don't want to be stopped and interrogated, stay out of the neighborhoods. Use the brains God gave you. The last thing anybody should be worried about is the civil rights of criminals. If criminals are arrested, they're released without being charged. There's no point in calling the cops. That's why I have no opinion about what's done in self-defense. Same advice. Don't hire organized crime. Don't hire anybody except licensed armed security firms if you can afford them. In Iraq, people brought in Al Qaeda and the Islamic State to protect them, and the cure was worse than the disease. Ken McElroy was killed by 2 snipers. As one of the townsfolk said in the interview, where was the law? Where was the FBI? Where were all these state patrol investigators when he was running loose? You guys couldn't take care of him. We had to take care of him. The killing of Ken McElroy was an act devoid of moral content. It was neither right nor wrong. The circumstances of the situation lifted the concept of morality from the response of the townsfolk. They didn't harm McElroy's wife or 10 children. You can't enforce the law arbitrarily. If you decide that one man can do whatever he wants for decades, you can't turn around and then apply the full force of the law to those who finally defend themselves. I have no opinion of neighborhoods forming militias. The only thing I'm saying is that they're simply living under the circumstances that the government imposed upon them, and that they should be smart.